Okay, so today is day one of the World Anvil Summer Camp. Also, recently this last week, Matt Colville released a campaign document, which was timely because I am starting a new campaign. It's an existing world, but in a whole new area. So in this case, the players, which is important, are going to be my son and my daughters, 11, 9, and 6. No, 11, 9, and 7. They're all turning 12, 10, and 8 this year. So I need a new campaign setting, mostly. I mean, existing world, some changes. I'm also going to use this as World Anvil to build out the world. So, World Anvil, my campaign, let's start. Let's try to get this done in under a half an hour. I've already done a couple things here. Number one, Cradle of Worlds, which is the name of the World Anvil world. Hendrent Plains, which is going to be the new location. I just came up with that word. Dungeon Master myself, Alex Rollins. What is the area called? The Hendrent Plains in the west of the realm of Gorl. Gorl is the planet name. Starting location. Okay, so I put this in, and I don't like it. Largely because it is... My thought is that it's the port city. One of the things you'll notice is I'm using, even though it comes in a PDF form, I'm using this so I can have different layers for user and DM, which is just kind of something I like to do. So I'm actually going to make Soramisu the distant city, not the local town. So I need a town name. Town names historically often came from geographic features. So let's call this, let's see, River, Hill, Mount, Dale, Ardale. Sure. Which is my initials, and Dale. Dale being a location. Name the local inn. So I had thought this previously through, and one of the things I have here is I forgot my dice. Ah, okay. So I don't have dice, so I will just pick numbers at random. Let me write them down, to which I also do not have a pen or a pencil here, Sting. But I do have a highlighter, strangely enough. So apparently I'm going to use the highlighter on some scrap paper. So we have a D8, we have a D8, we have a D12, D12, D20, D100. So I will just, without looking at the form, say 6, 5, 8, 7, 11, and 72. So numbers out of my head for whatever reason, and we will use that to build our tavern name. So this I found actually on Pinterest. I have no idea whose it originally was because the link in Pinterest went to an image on Pinterest server. So I have no idea the source. If anyone does know, let me know. So I picked for the name of our tavern. We're going to randomly generate. The order is the noun and noun. Okay, that works. The noun and noun. So we have two nouns, which means I need two D100s. And the others are services. Okay, so two D100s. Let me give another D100. Let's do 35. So the noun and noun becomes the 75, the wolf, and 35, the wolf and halfling. Sounds good. Wolf and halfling, which I'm going to worry about pronunciation, or capitalization in this case. Services, I had said on the D12s, 8 and 7. So it has also exotic food, and illegal-wise has beast fights, which I don't know about yet. Okay, so this is where I want to, actually let's go back to user, copy, go to DM, put the text in a different color. Instead of brown, let's do a dark blue, sure. And this has exotic food and beast fights. And I'm just going to put that right there. And that's on the DM layer, so I can just hide it. Boom, gone, and back. It doesn't really matter what app you use to do this kind of thing. In just a PDF viewer, you could create two copies. and edit them separately. I like this. This is graphic. It's a vector program just because I like this program. How do we meet in that in? I don't know. I'm leaving that up to players. They'll decide how they're going to meet in that in. What is the name of the main road? The old road. It's the big road. It's the old road. That's just what it's called. What is the name of the local river? Ooh, that's a good question. See, names tend to be tricky. We should call it the Green River. Colors are always good. Local forest. Okay, local forest is, and see, here's where I should have prepped and had some name lists of different locations. We could do Yarkton Forest. Now, so the advantage of having Old Road is that it implies that there's something that was there previously. So really great for adventure building. Green River, it doesn't really even matter what the river's named. In fact, maybe it has multiple names, and Green River is just the common way. Yarkton Forest, and I probably should zoom in to make this easier on the video. Yarkton Forest. So the reason I picked that name is I thought of local locations. So I live in Washington State. One of the towns we have is called Yakima. So I basically took that, threw a couple letters around, and made something different. Actually, if I were to do that more accurately, there is a local petrified forest. So you could do a petrified forest name because that makes sense. Maybe that's what it was in an alternate history. The nearby hills. Okay, so the nearby hills. Let's see. Here we want something evocative. Hills. We'll say the halflings live in the hills, and some of the dwarves. So let's do the Shield Hills. Right? 2 nearby villages. Emball and pick another letter. So one of the other things I like to do is have things start with different letters than each other, because otherwise I will tend to pick the same letter of the alphabet to start everything with. And I happen to have a thing of paint here. Saddle Ridge, because I have a saddle brown color of paint sitting right here. So we will call it Saddle Ridge. It is also known for its horses and ponies. Emball is known for its refinery. Of what? I don't know. We'll get there when we get there. That really doesn't matter. Who rules the area? Okay, so in this case, what did we call our town? Ardale. Let's assume it is a halfling. And we shall call her Glara Shandon. And the reason I did that name is also paint, which is Glaurdoom Shade. That is Glara Shandon, and who else is, and the local elders of the village, right? That works just fine. And at some point I will worry about height and stuff with the fonts, but I'm not going to do that right now because we're trying to get through this build quickly. Who are the town elders? Oh, I didn't even look at that question before I answered that with the local elders. This is a bunch of names. Names are tricky. We'll come back to names, and we'll come back to names later. What do the locals think about elves? Okay, so the local elves. Aloof and isolationists, which I think is appropriate given the history of the world. They were disproportionately affected by the plague of Silmora, which was a realm-shaking plague in terms of the fact that it was everywhere. Practical, hardworking, fight with the elves. Largely because the elves think that the dwarves and the other small peoples were responsible for the plague. I should put that here. That is a good side note. They are... Actually, let's put it under the elves. Nationalists. They believe the elves, let's be specific, the elves believe the short races attacked them with the plague of Silmora. Biological warfare. So they fight with the elves. The halflings are nomads, travelers, horse traders, or let's just say animal trainers. And they're not all nomads, but that's what the people believe. They believe that because at one point maybe they were, that they're all nomadic type people. And that's not really true, but that's okay. Humans. Locals think about humans. Normal, boring, not interesting. Right? That's kind of a thing. So one of the things with the Plague of Silmora, in my brain, it's kind of a genetic disease. It caused also throwbacks. So if people say, I want to be this weird race that you've never heard of before, you're probably a Titadin, which is what we call those that were touched, which is the Elvish phrase. And so the Plague of Silmora caused you could have a halfling mother and a halfling father, and somehow you come out as a half-elf. Completely random. And so that's where the tieflings come from, that's where most of the dragonborn come from, all these weird things are going on. So humans are basically, they're the boring ones. They're kind of stock, vanilla, but they are aggressive. And aggressive is not perhaps the right word. They are driven, right? So they are driven and often considered, not weak. Well, some of the races considered weak. We'll just say normal, boring, not interesting. Those are the same things. Normal, boring, but driven. So there we go. Now to the middle column. Okay, so in terms of religion, we're going to go with, I think this is important. I have several pantheons that we use in the other part of this world. We're going to go with the monotheistic, which means only one deity, who is short name. We want short names because it's old. And when something is old, it has a short name. Because if anything else, if it started with a long name, it has been abbreviated. Erev. Let's do Erev. So in this case, we shall do the saint, or the let's do the order of, I like this, so the order of scriptum, no, scriptorum, the order of scriptorum. And so these would be knightly or priestly orders, all within the same religion. So the order of hospitallers. And this we're going to borrow from actual knightly orders in history of nature. The Order of Green Wardens. This has come up in other Green Warders. No. Maybe we'll change the name or add an additional evocative name. Right. But what we want, Stormlords of... See, I don't want... Now that I've started with everything is at least a compound word or a single word. Thunderers. No. But we can use thunder. So we can use Thundaliers. I like that. Thundaliers. There we go. Trickster God. The order... See, Trickster is also the chaos, of unpredictability, of change, right? It doesn't necessarily have to be malevolent trickster or a Loki type figure. It could just be the agent of change, which also leads to the agent of knowledge, right? Because you have to have change to learn something new. So the order is interested in still a positive order, right? It still can be positive. So, but they also, because they're tricksters, they may bypass my fact that there's a one-word order of scriptorum, hospitalis, green wardens, thundaliers. So order of I don't know. I don't know. Let's come back to that. God of War. The order of protectors. So we could just do the Templar, right? Hospitallers is less known. Templar are very well known. That may be over on the nose. So order of... See, and I can't do ruling fist or holy might because that's two words. But we could do something based off of those words. So who are we looking at? Nope. We'll come back to that one later as well. Okay, so NPCs. Oh, here we have names. Okay. Let's figure out the names. So, what I've done with my world is I've kind of, because it's hard to come up with lots of names all at once, is I've kind of assumed that there are certain things that happen over time, right? So if I go to my notes, where's my notes? And this is kind of what I've been using for several things, and the answer is it's not here. So World Anvil made a change, and I need to find my notebook because I have all my stuff, my notes for names. Names. So what I've done is I've basically ascribed existing cultures to different things. So elves use Gaelic, Welsh, and Irish type names. Dragons, it's anything long and obnoxious. Dragonborn, it's Welsh, except for they at least do a double name, so we concatenate two names and maybe change a couple of vowels. Tieflings, Titadin, Egyptian, Hebrew. Surnames are by occupation, location. Half-orc, human, Germanic, English, Polish, or Prussian by default. Dwarf, Chinese. I just needed something different, so all my short races are more Oriental. It also is really kind of cool because I personally like the Naginata, which is a polearm from Japan. And I kind of imagine that a lot of these, even though classically we think of dwarves axes, is polearms are a really good choice for when you don't have the range in close combat. So I imagine they are very polearm based, and there's some really cool looking Asian polearms. And so that's kind of visually where I'm going with that. So I figured if I have to have something based off of something, let's at least do something a little more diverse. So dwarves are more Chinese, gnomes, Indian, and Tibetan, halflings, Japanese. And these are names, right? So this doesn't necessarily mean their culture all comes from that. They may also steal from any other places. Church of the Ear Star. So I don't know why I picked this. They are a different world, actually, though connected by portals. And I specifically picked Polish. A lot of them are human in that location. But that's just kind of how that works. Avians, French, with a single nature word plus a suffix for all their last names. Suffixes exampled here. Unclaimed sources. I don't have anything for Spanish time. Minotaurs. So, Minotaurs and Centaurs. So specifically in this campaign, my son decided he wants to play two characters. Since it's going to be mostly just my son and my daughters are iffy at times, he wanted a campaign that was regular, because a lot of the campaigns he was in had cousins, his cousins, my nieces and nephews, or other people that were hard to schedule. So this is to be a more home, literally, and everyone who plays, for the most part, is in the home or possibly guest players. So he wanted to play a Minotaur and a Centaur as his two characters. So I needed to come up with some sort of naming convention there. So Minotaur is Greek with a patronym matronym, and sometimes a location. Centaur is Persian Mongolian, I think works really well. Mongolians were horse people in many cases, so that I think fits. And it gives me another source of interesting names. So there's my names. So as we think about this, when I say, oh, we're going to do a XYZ name, and I come up with something unusual, you're like, where'd you get that? That's part of why. So in this case, we're going to say that expert on the arcane is going to be, now, drag, just like the player's handbook in 5th edition, I'm going to base off of what's rare and what's not. So we want most of these to be common races. So in this case, we're going to actually do a dwarf, right? Because in classical D&D, dwarfs tend to push the arcane away for the divine. We're going to switch that up. Dwarf, and we're going to say female, a dwarf female, warlock, no, sorcerer, I don't care, it's a thing. Dwarf female, her name is, trying to think of Fallon, which has some Asian type sounding vowel forms, and last name. So dwarfs. Do I have any notes on dwarfs with last names? It is a patronym. Okay, so no, it's not. Not in this area. This area of the world has matriarchal dwarf system, so it's a matronym. So her mother's name would have had to have been, oh, let's see. Sakura, and it's a patronym or matronym. So those are names that are based on your parent. So we need what? We need a suffix for that. Din, Sakura Din. There we go. So that is her mother's name with the suffix. And her specialty is in what? Specifically, is in weather. Why not? Which kind of almost leans that to druid, but we will see. So, religious expert is going to be a halfling. Halfling male, since we already did one female. We are going to do what's a good name? Ken, right? So Kenshin, Kenji, Kenichiro. Kenichiro, since my halflings are more Japanese names, Kenichiro Kurokawa, right? They do have family names, but they're matrilineal, which means they pass through from the mother instead of patrilineal, pass through the father. Not that that's their father's name with a suffix. And he is of the order of Hospitallers. Hospitaller. Who knows the most about the Harry's history? Oh, the elf, because the elf has the longest lifespan. So the elf, and they have a tendency to be ambiguously gendered, so we are not even going to put a gender. And we need something Gaelic or Welsh or Irish. So let's do an Irish name. So I'm going to look up on my second screen, Irish names. And we're at 20 minutes. Okay, so we need a top Irish name for girls. Love it. Okay. Would you come over here, please? Maeve. Let's do Maeve. So in this case, in reality, this elf has a longer name, but we don't care because that doesn't matter right now. And the profession is, if I clicked on the right screen, the profession is a librarian. Keeps the local library going. Local geography. Okay, so this is where we would probably want to have a human. Right, I've picked, some of these are unusual species. Let's pick human. I would not say human is the default in my setting. There's a lot of, all the common races are the default in my setting. And here we have Germanic English, so we shall pick, so we have a male, a female, an ambiguous. We'll put another male. They are a hunter. So they're going to probably be some sort of ranger type character, and they have. He usually goes by his first name, and with a subname, right? What is the phrase for it? Personal name, and then a kind of a pellet name, whatever you could call that. Browning. He just goes by the name Browning. Why not? Because that is a gun manufacturer, so it makes sense. It's a hunter. Browning. Browning. The hunter, no. The Manticore, because he killed a Manticore. Browning the Manticore. So he is known as Browning or the Manticore, or Browning the Manticore. I like that. Okay, so now we are to the DM section. Here we go. Here, who are the local monsters? Goblins. No. Yes, goblins. Why? Because I have a bunch of them painted up. Slightly far off. Monster tribe, the lizard men. Okay, so we have oh, no. Let's do kobolds. Kobolds. I do have a couple painted kobolds, and I have more that I can paint. So, kobolds, lizard men. Who's the local evil boss? If I can spell kobolds. Kobold names. Oh, I would assume this, they take off out of dragons. So dragons are lots of syllables put together. So Pledabra, sure. Abracadabra, which is the shaman of the kobolds. And what I was going to say, we need what they want right here. I did not preview this document other than look at the top couple fields before doing this today. What do they want? To restore dragons. They think you have been missing of late. So their goal is to try to find dragons and bring them back, which is fantastic. Okay, what will happen if they get it? Tribute will have to be paid to the dragon's lackeys, in other words, the kobolds, and that is what they want. And then they will be held in high esteem, and they will be the government. Right? And that's all we have to have. We don't have to have anything more complex. Okay, and actually all of this, and this is why I like it on here, is I just take these and I say DM layer, so I can hide them, and let's go, we're editing our DM layer. But everyone in my world knows, right? That actually is you player, right? So everyone in my world knows the plague of Silmora, the destruction of the Mystic Engines, which was a worldwide event. What else do they know? Dragons have gone missing in the last 50 years. Or quiet, one of those. Very few people know. Now here's where I actually want to switch this over to the DM section, right? Because this will not be for the players. Very few people know. No one knows. I have a lot of no one noses. Noses? No one knows. Nobody knows the trouble I've seen. Oh, that's an interesting idea. So if we take from the song, the trouble I've seen, no one knows. Ooh, this was something I had for our campaign that ended up going nowhere. Haha, I like this. Campaign that ended up going nowhere. Well, there is an aboleth, a space aboleth, who desires to rule the world. To shut up The annoying mind chatter. Basically, he's very powerful psionic, and he is tired, which is why he's in space right now, is because it's a little quieter out there. Is that he wants things to be quieted down. All these, too many people, kill them all. There's a little Thanos there. It's like, let's kill half the people. Now, he wants to kill a lot of people and subject them to his will so they'll shut up. Because they are annoying to him. I don't know, does an Anvil have a gender? I use him as a default. Because I am male. That's why it's my default. I don't know. We'll change that. They're just a space apple. Few people know. The Order of Colorless Monks is looking to expand their territory. That is, I think, spelled wrong. That is the one thing about using a graphics program, is it doesn't necessarily do all the spell checking stuff. I don't really care right now. It's for me mostly. So to expand their territory and influence. And we're going to pick one. Colorless monk who happens to be a half-elf. With a elf and dwarf parent, in this case. Half-elf, because why not? Named... And so now we can mix up names, and basically we have some out of the the colorless, the Order of the Colorless Monks. Their area is a little different, so their culture shifted. So this could be a name of basically anything. So what are we going to say? We're going to say that they went a little hippie, and they are named Night Dew. And that's all they'll give you. They're not going to give you their family. They're not going to... Don't care. Not important. Desires. And so this actually gets to a later plot. Desires keys to portals and other realms. Because they're not necessarily expanding in the local geography. They're expanding in the planar geography. So that's very interesting. So if I take off my DM, that filters everything out that I don't want them to have seen. And we have to get back to, and we're at just over half an hour. Well, let's get this finished up, and then I can actually get started on World Anvil. Oh, I have to be on the user layer. Trickster God. Okay, so Trickster God. We could go something like Loki. Loki. Who else? Who's the Trickster God in? Order of Nike, right? Oh, actually, no, Nike, success. That is the god of success in the Roman pantheon in history. So we're going to riff off that name. So the Nikiers. So, assuming this is an alternate version of history, the Nikiers. No, I don't like that name. We'll put Nike in parentheses. Goddess Nike, right? Because that's cool. We have an S scriptorum. Let's do a V. The Order of the Venerators. Yes, that works. I like that. The Order of Venerators. The goddess Nike, or in this case, probably let's do Think. Goddess Nike. Saints are patrons of the orders. Right, so in this case, the saint would be the Saint Nike. There, I like that. Yeah, there, more in the middle. So we can, I think, Goddess Nike, or the Trickster God, Loki, Mephistopheles. That's not really Goddess demon. Tivolus. Oh, Tivolus is interesting. Tivolus was the demon that Offerings were made of broken nibs by the scribes in the Middle Ages to hopefully that Tivolius would mess with. It's not really offerings. They didn't. Hey, these are broken nibs already. Mess with those. Don't mess with my real ones. Type of thing. It's kind of a weird Tivolius. So I like Tivolius. So the Tivoliers. I like that, kind of like Cavaliers. Tivoliers. I like Tivoliers. And then we're gonna think Tivolius. So, Thundeliers. No, but we have too many ears. Thundolins. Sure. Kind of gives a little bit of a Thundercats vibe. Okay, so... Sure, Thundercat vibe. We shall say the Saint Omen. Green Wardens. The Saint is... Styron. That's because I have a color called Styx Purple near me, which I think it just sounds cool, so we don't want it to be associated with Styx, because Styx is the underworld. Hospitallers, the Order of Saint Delvin. Sure. That's because, as I'm looking around, I happen to have a jury summons, and local county clerk happens to have a last name of Delvin. So, Order Scriptorum. Here we have... Looking around for names. This is why it's very important to have something. Order Scriptorum. And they're wordier, so they get someone with a first and a last name. Matthew. Little Hand. Let's do a compound. There, I like that. So he had a very fine and detailed scripting hand, right? So he could write small in the margins. I like that. Okay, so who else do we yet have a name for? Oh, Town Elders. Oh, okay, so Town Elders. Is that it? And we're almost done. So a little over half an hour, and this is all basically taken care of. Oh, it's who do we meet at the inn, not where, what, how do we meet at the inn? I read that wrong. I don't know. I think it's going to depend on what my first quest is going to be. So I'm going to wait on that. Town Elders. So I need a whole bunch of random names. So let's do German names. Here we go. Google. So, because most of them are going to be human default. And we're going to have Ernst, Helmut, Peter, Kurt. No, let's not do Kurt. Let's not do Peter. Kurt, Otto. And now we need some female ones on that list. And exactly what role they play, we will get there eventually. So, Ilse. Yes. Ooh, let's do that. Lotte. Helga, Ingrid, you don't want to do those, those are too close to modern average names where I'm playing, so let's make it a little different. Okay, so, ooh, I do like that. Petra. Petra comes from a female version of Peter, which means rock or stone. And Anja. So, these are names that I will basically drop in when I need to know who the town elders are, and I will throw probably last names on them basically whenever I need a last name for them. But now we at least have a list of first names that we can play from when they ask questions. Oh, well, that's Helmut. Go to Helmut. He will tell you what you need to know. which is really what you need, is you need a list of names of people to go to. And I need to come up with an interesting cast of characters for them to meet at the tavern. But that's okay, because that'll come mostly as I'm thinking about what our first mission is going to be. So here is my world. We got it done in under, well, about 40 minutes. And then we'll start with World Anvil. So links below, and this will be entertaining. Bye.